All right, y'all. Let's do this. Yes. First meeting of 2025. What's up? Yeah, I don't have a gavel. My presence is gavel enough. All right. So we're going to start us off with attendance. We'll start in the room and then we'll do online. We've got some new faces, get to do some introductions. That's very fun. I will start. Amanda Polly. John Amador. Jen Fisher. Diane Crawford, not Jen. Jane Sherwood. Rose Ricker.
Chris Workman.
Jessica Andrade.
And I'm Christopher McMorrin. I also don't know if it's just me. Something about the sound from the room sounds like it's coming through a tin can. So I just wanted to flag that.
It's me too.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
I liked it better when it was just him.
We'll take the tin can off the microphone, see if that helps.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, we'll do our robotic run through the agenda here. First item of business is approval of the minutes from last month, which are in the packet. I think in our attendance of our last meeting, we had Jane Goodwin here. I'm pretty sure it should be Sherwood. Yes. Oh, good. Jane. I don't think there was another Jane in the room, but just saying. That was the only thing I found. Well, they got it right later on in the minutes.
I was just doing the minutes for this meeting, and I was right to your name when you said it. I was like, right.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you. All right. Jane's last name. So. All good? Feel good about it? Yes. All right. Urgent business. Anything anyone wants to bring up ahead of the meeting that's not on the agenda? Pertinent. This is not urgent, but I was told that we're going to work at the PCS on January 25th. Is that correct? Anybody know about that? January 25th or February 25th? Okay, maybe February 25th. I didn't work on the 25th of January. No. I did hear that we were going to work together someday in the future. I know a time. I just have no idea. I don't know. And I'm all for it. Christopher knows.
Well, I don't know if I know, but I can give a status update. If I had reached out to PCS about that, and they were receptive, but Sharon had been sick for a while, so I haven't actually gotten like a firm answer on what would be best, besides that they like the vibe of it. So I'll follow up with her again now that I think she's back in the office.
And to clarify, because Counselor Nielsen had told me a bit about it at a recent meeting, was that it had to do with, for those who don't know, because I don't know if it got talked about at a different time, but something relating to a food drive, but sending out like notices of like, hey, we're gonna pick up food from people's houses, and then going around and picking food up. I think that's what it was. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone knows.
February 22nd, we're taking volunteers, and we've got about 60 so far, to put bags and a notice on every doorknob in the city limit. And then 1 week later, on Saturday, March 1st, we're going to go around and pick up the food that's left for PCS.
But Counselor Nielsen had said that because I had asked for a flyer. I was like, has the flyer been made yet? And so like, I don't know if she's sent that.
She's
okay.
Gone, but I do have everything.
Okay.
So
You've got the flyer?
I feel like I saw something.
Yeah.
It was on one of the Facebook groups, and it was also somewhere else.
Are you still
I've
looking
got
for
an
volunteers?
Huh?
Are you still looking for volunteers for the 22nd?
Yes. And we had talked about bringing this to the Inclusivity Committee.
Right.
Because of Poverty Month last month, and that this.
I think we talked about it at the swearing in.
Yeah. Can I go make copies?
I can go make copies for you.
Okay.
How many you want?
4, 5, 6, 7.
And then we can also make sure that that gets emailed out for folks that are not in the room.
And are we still looking at volunteering at PCS, or is this is the volunteering?
I think those were two different conversations. I actually have a meeting with David next week. So if I talk to him before Christopher talks to Sharon, one of us can
I know Becky. Okay.
figure out what that, I mean, 2 opportunities is better than 1. But I think originally when we talked about doing PCS specific volunteering, it was the app on site, either cleaning up space or, so I think it's potentially different than what the food
Yeah.
thing is.
Hello.
Okay.
Holly, I think it was right under the first, on page 1, on the second page, there's a discussion about collaborating, and then the second page kind of listed all of the things that I think that we talked about at the last meeting.
From the minutes.
But yes, I think it was 2 separate conversations. Yeah, the thing I had reached out about was the idea of like going there and doing some sort of service there, and then this was a separate. Something Nielsen came up with.
And
Someone else?
well, we've got 4-H kids, we've got youth group or church peoples, and we've got scouts and high school students coming. It's we're getting a pretty good response because people realize the need and they really need it now. I mean, potentially we could help them make space for the new canned goods if they're worried about having enough space. So if we were able to move things, but if we do that on the 25th, it really would be in time to make a difference for that.
Yeah.
The 25th is our meeting, though, isn't it? Our inclusivity meeting? We're gonna do that in lieu of
Oh,
the
that was a
meeting?
Tuesday, that's right.
I don't know. I wasn't here the day that was planned, and I've just read it, and I thought, oh, good, but
Look into the weekend before, somewhere thereabouts.
Urgent it is, well, I guess it is urgent, but it's not on the agenda, but Philomath Fellowship finally has a date. So this would be the space created not only for people involved in Inclusivity Committee, but also just for neighbors in Philomath and Benton County to have a space to talk to each other. Envisioning it being a space where there is one speaker that shares about themselves, and then there's follow-up discussion about that. And so we have the date scheduled for February 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. And that's going to be at the museum, the Moreland Room, so the upstairs.
February 27th.
February 27th. It's a Thursday.
The most important question: did you spell it with a PH?
Of course I did.
Okay, good.
Maybe we can decide if we really want to call it Philomath Fellowship.
What kind of question is that?
with the PH.
Yeah.
With the PH.
In February with a PH.
Oh, bad.
Now you're out of control. Yeah, that's too much.
Need a recall.
I've researched it, I don't think it's possible.
I think we'll talk.
Anyone else have any urgent, non-urgent business?
Is anyone speaking right now?
Well, I was muttering to myself. Also
Okay.
like that.
Well, as a reminder, I can't like the audio is kind of crappy.
The audio is quite tough right now.
Yeah.
This is just more of a reminder because I don't think we put this on the agenda as an action item. I am no longer the council co-chair. Did we talk about this?
No, but I
Okay.
meant to text you this morning
Okay.
and then got busy.
Okay.
So,
So just as a flag for everyone, obviously last year Amanda and I were kind of tag teaming this. Now that I have my duties as assigned by the voters, I will no longer be the council co-chair of this committee. I'm still here as a regular member. Something I think part of a discussion on kind of the structure of the committee, what the right way we want to do that is moving forward. This committee, people often send them to me. For now, it's probably good to send them to Amanda and or Chris. To see them. I just am no longer in charge of that. So, sure I put that out there.
good note. Good. So on to our rest of our agenda. We've got a couple items under business. We'll start with our Black History Month presentation. Give some updates on that, and yeah. So, want to go or do you want me to go?
Go for it.
All right. Where is it? Oh, it's on my second page. So, as Christopher so wonderfully announced at the town hall, we are having a Black History Month talk at the Philomath Museum, February 12th at 6 p.m. Zachary Stocks from Oregon Black Pioneers is going to come and talk about the Tisha Carson and the Shipley,
Mary Jane Shipley.
Mary Jane Shipley. And that is going to be a good, I think we're just gonna, we have a short program. We're finishing out exactly what the timing of that is gonna be, but I have a program almost finished that we'll have printed out to hand out, which will have bios of the women. We'll talk about Oregon Black Pioneers. It'll recognize our sponsors. Eric Neiman shared a link to the Journey film, which has some information about the marker, the Shipley marker. So we'll put a link to that in the program as well. And so one of the things that we're kind of need to figure out is if we're going to record it, who's doing the intro, and then kind of, well, and if we're doing anything with Zachary the day of, if there's any programming about that. So that's kind of where we're at. So it's like 85% managed, and like the last little bits are falling into place.
Yeah.
Was that?
That,
Oh, okay.
that's what I have about it.
No update.
Well, I guess
Dale?
I can put it up to the group too, and maybe you, because I feel like you know Counselor Nielsen even better than I do. Do you know if there's any way to reach her right now?
There's not.
Okay, that's my fear.
The 10th.
Yeah. So the reason we ask is, and it's the 12th, right? So Zachary Stocks, the speaker for the Black History Month event, will be getting into town early afternoon, I think, on the 12th. And I was asked to sort of welcome him and take him out for lunch or something as the mayor. Unfortunately, I am not paid any money to be the mayor, so I will be at my job where I am paid money to pay my bills. So I will not be able to be there early afternoon on the 12th. So we were trying to see if there was someone else. And so then the natural thought was Councilor Nielsen, since she is the council president. But I would like to confirm that with her if possible, and that is not possible. Because I know she told me she was out, and
Well, she gets back into cell coverage on the 10th. I'm not even sure she's.
Oh, that's fair. Okay, because she just texted me right as she was leaving. She's like, by the way, don't talk to me until the 10th. And I was like, great. And then I didn't think about how this would be an issue. But, so I guess point is, maybe if you are around on the 12th at all? Or
I am. I'm watching my grandchildren in the morning, so
Okay.
I have a little limitation, but I should be able to be okay.
I think he said we'd come to town around 1-ish,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
and the program starts at 6, so. Anytime between there.
Surprise.
Could I invite Zena
Sure.
with me? I mean,
If you want. So we'll delegate that to you at this point.
Are you
So
okay for me meeting?
yeah, sure, yeah.
just,
I'll be at work.
where do we go eat? Suggestions, anyone?
Leave that in your capable hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was the question about getting payment to the people who need payment. Looking at you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yes, this would be, I think, also part of a Chris question.
Chris, both Chris's.
For payment for the speaker and for refreshments or anything.
And for lodging.
Yes, are those things that we like do after the fact? We pay them there. What's the?
I usually get them done ahead of time, so I'll take care of that.
Okay.
And then full transparency, we've been having a little bit of communication issues with the person we were going to tap into for the refreshments. So we have steadily been trying to get in communication with them. Also have the backup of Eats and Treats. Eats and Treats sent me a whole menu of all the goodies that they can make. So priority is still to go with Tara from Tara's Tasty Treats. But I'm working with the subcommittee to see how quickly we need to make that switch if we need to. Even though it's on the flyer and it's in the Philomath News article. So I'm really hoping we can make it happen.
You have a contingency plan.
Yes. Jess has her hand up.
Jessica.
Hey. So to clarify, because I'm not sure if I heard correctly at the beginning. Did you say you're looking for someone to record the event? Or are you saying that you
have
something
the
else?
stuff, right?
Yeah, so there's a couple options. We did do sort of a trial run of this at the swearing in ceremony with just using like the city's, aka Chris's computer, and webcam and some of the wireless like Bluetooth microphones the city owns. I have not personally watched it, but I know Chris went back and kind of checked it, and the audio was great. The video was satisfactory. It's a little bit of a
more than anything.
Yeah.
In that room because there's no spotlights on the podium and the speaker. It's all on the artwork on the
Yeah.
walls. So when you go to speak on the stage, it's very shadowy.
Yeah.
But otherwise, quality-wise, it was fine. It was just a little more shadow than what you would typically want for a presentation.
So I think if we're fine with having just sort of that level of AV thing, I think that's sort of the easiest, most straightforward way. And then we could even live stream it using that technology, since that's what we did for the swearing in. I have like nicer looking camera stuff, which would be cool for like a recording, but it's also a little more complicated and can't do live streaming. So I feel like if our goal is just like accessibility and getting it out there to as many people as possible, probably just using the same setup we did for the swearing in ceremony is the best way to go. And that worked pretty well. I mean, it took Chris and I like, 20 minutes just to kind of like set it up and test it out, if that, but it wasn't a huge deal. So, and I guess, do we know, will it be up on the stage or will he be down on the floor?
I don't think we talked to, and
Okay.
we had a note to check to see if he was doing a
Slides.
slideshow or not, and if that is the case, that will kind of change.
I can
what we
follow
do
up on
that.
that and ask.
But if we're running it through Zoom, well, yeah, we could, there's a couple ways we could do that, so.
What equipment do we use for the slideshow?
So it would just, there's a laptop, so we would plug in a laptop that would, into the
Museum has a
projector.
screen that we can, and they got a projector.
And then what we would do is if we were streaming it, we would connect that laptop to Zoom as well, share the screen from there, and then everybody online would, and then use the other laptop as the camera.
Yeah, maybe ask if he would prefer to stand at a podium, if he wants to sit in a chair, or be down with the people, or.
Because I mean, even if he wants to be down, we can still do a
It'd
slideshow.
be harder to see him, though, I think. It'd be nice if he's on stage, I think, just so the audience can see him.
Thank you. That all sounds great. Also, whatever you did with the audio, if you did anything, Chris, it's much better.
Vibes. We fixed it with vibes.
Part of that was that little slide thing he did.
And then also I wanted to check up on day of or even like during the event, pre-event, like do you have tasks that need to be done by anyone leading up to the event, day of? Sorry, it's been a long day. And you know, like handing out greeting, etc., just so that we can volunteer if we're able to.
Yeah. So right now, the only things, originally I had setting up chairs. That will kind of depend on the number of folks that are there, and we can kind of do that on the fly. But the three things that I kind of pulled out that stuck out as things we would need volunteers for are greeting and handing out programs, any tech setup that we're doing, and then someone to pick up and set up the snacks if they're coming from Eats and Treats, or if Tara's delivering them, or what. That will kind of depend on how that pans out. But if I'm missing something,
You nailed it.
I think that's kind of what we've done in the past. And so my plan is to have the program finished over the weekend, and then it'll just be black and white, and we'll just print it. Probably just be
We have the coloring sheets.
what was that?
The coloring sheets.
Well, so I figured I'm gonna so we had Zena designed.
It's the image that's on the flyer.
Yeah, so there was a photo of Mary Jane Shipley that Zena then did artwork over, which we used on the flyer. And so my plan is to just have that
A full sheet.
Yeah. So I'm gonna have that just be the cover of the program, blank, probably with like, you know, the thing on the bottom that says what the event is, but it'll be colorable if folks want to.
Oh, on the
But
okay. Cool.
yeah, so it'll kind of two goals and one
Multi-purpose.
paper. Yeah, multi-purpose. So that if folks wanted to color it in or bring it to life, Zena kind of wanted folks to be able to interact with that in whatever way they wanted to. So that will be the cover of the program.
Awesome.
Dina did a nice job.
Yeah. So if there's anything that anybody feels very strongly about doing as far as any of those tasks. Well, Diane's already like volunteered to.
Voluntold.
Much. I think you would be an ideal person to greet at the door if you have time to set up the equipment and then do that.
Sure.
Just because not everybody still knows you, and it would be good to get you out there.
I'm happy to do that wherever I can be most useful. So
Okay. Cool.
And where, I guess I'll talk to Chris maybe about where he's staying and all the stuff, if he's got food allergies or anything, and
Yeah.
whatever we can do. Cause
I don't know if I'm supposed to be with him until the show starts or just for lunch. Welcome.
I think the idea was more just welcoming him to town and maybe talking to him about Philomath and showing him some of our local
And
sites.
car. He'll have a car here.
I believe so. Yes.
I can coordinate with you, Dan. I wouldn't mind going with you on that too.
Okay, that'd be good.
Cool.
Watch what I say.
Provide.
I know we can.
Thursday.
I need a report from both of you afterwards.
You're working, so, yeah.
That's it. I lost my chance. Yeah. No, that sounds great. I thank you so much for all the folks that have been working on putting this together. It's been fun to kind of get the updates. I know it's not always been fun to have to create the updates and all the work that went into that, but I appreciate all of the effort.
Yeah.
It's going to be a
Fun
wonderful
group
event.
project.
I will also say, and I don't want to, I'm not trying to put anyone on blast. I did reach out to the school district about collabing.
Mhm.
Period. That's the end of the story, unfortunately.
Okay.
I will reach out again,
Cool.
but I haven't heard anything back on that. So I know.
We're almost getting late. I would love to see maybe Dunham's EV class or
Yeah,
create an announcement at least
Yes.
and put it out at the high school, but.
yeah, that was the,
We'd have to talk to him.
those were the two things I sent over. Either just getting the word out in the schools or some sort of like more official collaboration, and I don't think I got a response to either of those things, but I can just text Dunham, instead of going.
You know.
Sometimes you go around the official channels. But yeah.
We could even share it with the middle school.
Yeah.
That would be 2/3 of our school population.
Yeah.
May not be ready for elementary, I don't know. Depends on how racy he makes it, I don't know.
Something to do a lecture. That's the thing.
I have a friend over in Philomath Academy as well, so I can make sure that
Yes, they need to get it.
she sends that to them. Well, all right. Does anyone have any questions? Any thoughts, feelings?
For our new members, this is a lot of us sort of talking about things. Does that all make sense?
We're just getting kind of started. We did this last year
Yeah,
but not the year before.
not for
So
sure.
we're just getting started with recognizing some of our groups that we want to lift up, and this is one of them. And I would like to see us do some more. That's a good start. We've got the Pride Day and we've got this, and those are the two we do really well, I think.
Right. Guess that covers that. Yeah. If there's any, we'll send out any big updates, and I'll make sure the program gets sent to everybody through Chris. Everyone can see that.
Do we need coloring supplies if we're going to be coloring?
Oh yeah,
For
for
offering? We were talking about potentially using some of the NAACP money for that. But Chris, does the city have any coloring supplies on hand?
So why do we?
For activity.
Sorry.
No, I mean, we have like a box of markers and whatever out there with phones.
Do you think Inclusivity might want to come and share some items and then they can take
Hello.
it home when they're done?
It's okay, then I need one. I know.
They seem like nice people.
Yeah,
You want to volunteer for that?
I will. Unless someone else wants to take it.
nuts.
It would be honored for you to do that.
Yes, thank you.
Also, you mentioned the Pride event. We officially have a date.
Oh.
Sorry, I guess this is urgent.
Oh, I'm gonna be in
Urgent.
Scotland that day.
No, you're not. You're
I'm
gonna be
kidding,
here.
I'm kidding.
It's just
It is controversial though.
in Philomath. It's gonna be June 28th. We have the park for the entire day, so our times, no, you
So
have
continue.
nothing on that day.
Continue.
You cancel your plans. We have the park for the entire day, so I think it's 8 to 9, 8 o'clock to 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. So we're still working on how long our program's going to go for. Typically, it's been like a 1 to 5 or a noon to 4, so probably around that time period. But yeah, we have an official date. The controversy that we're giggling about was, it's a public meeting, Dirt Road's having a block party on that same day.
Annual block party.
Annual block party.
Yep.
So,
What time?
All day.
it's like an all-day thing. Their thing's an all-day thing.
People
So,
can
well, no, they can have it.
It'll
Wait,
just kind of like, we would have a shuttle,
Yeah, ooh.
like that goes from each event to the other event.
idea.
Oh,
we don't have the time frame determined yet. It'll be afternoonish.
That's what I'm just thought I missed it.
save the date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Officially insured.
Yes. Cool. Well, back to my agenda here. So the next item on our agenda is the committee organization. We kind of started talking about this at the end of last year, the last couple meetings that we had about onboarding new members, sort of what our mission statement is, if we feel like we're kind of going in the right direction. Is there anything we're doing we don't want to do? Is there anything we're not doing that we think we should be doing? And then kind of the bigger question in all of that is compiling all of that information and to update the committee as not an ad hoc committee, but an official city committee. So there are documents in the agenda, in the packet that Jessica has pulled together, kind of going over the content that already existed, and then starting to build a draft of what that official city committee wording would look like. So yeah, just kind of working towards the future of this committee and how we can keep doing the work that we're doing. And yeah. Yes, Christopher.
I would be curious from some of our new members, and you don't have to answer this if you don't know, but just since the rest of us have been doing this for a little bit, I'm curious sort of what you are hoping this committee can be and sort of what drew you to apply and join, just because I think that's important to know. You know, I feel like we all kind of know what we've been doing and what the history is, but I'm curious to kind of hear what, from a newer perspective, what you think this committee should be doing or what you thought we were doing.
Yeah. Well, I work as an occupational therapist, so I'm working with, all kinds of social backgrounds, economic backgrounds, different cultures, and so I felt like it kind of aligned with that, but also just the basics for occupational therapy is seeing every single individual person and seeing what their values are and what their beliefs are and how that makes them who they are, what drives them, what motivates them, and that's how we create, our goals for what that person needs to get to and what we need to work on. So in that case, it's kind of, I guess, what I see this committee being is not just seeing the certain categories, but trying to see every person in the town and what every person brings to the town, and I guess creating community and creating that kind of opportunities for everyone to see each other and support each other and understand each other, because we're all coming from different backgrounds. I'm an immigrant. I moved here from Scotland 15 years ago. So I think, you know, being international, you see a lot of international people in town and in Benton County and stuff. So being seen and being recognized it's important when you're in a small rural town where you often meet a lot of people that are like, I've been here 5 generations.
Yes.
I appreciate that, and I love the idea of also welcoming in all the other people that can also bring, you know, beautiful things to this town and make it a wonderful place to live. Pretty much.
Amen.
Nice.
Beautifully said. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I mean, I moved here about 13, 14 years ago, and when I first did, I realized really quickly that when everybody thought about like what someone from Oregon, what someone from Benton County looks like was not like me. My dad is Native, my mom is white, so I'm like half Navajo. But anyway, talking to a lot of people here, it was like we had this preconception of like what it means to be someone from Benton County. A lot of, I've been here for 5 generations. When I moved to Philomath in particular, a lot of friends were like, oh, but doesn't that feel weird for you? And it was like, why would it feel weird for me? And they're like, well, just, you know, and I'm like, okay, I see what you're trying to say, and you're all very white, so I will say it for you. It's not the most diverse of places, but I think like Oregon in general has this history that we really need to kind of confront and talk about, where it's like, here's where we are coming from. We would like to do better. How do we do that? How do we support and highlight people and make them feel accepted and like they are part of our community, like Jenna just talked about. So it's like, well, I think about this all the time, so maybe I should join the committee and maybe, like, I feel like I'm in over my head. Crystal knows this and Chris knows this, but apparently emails to me have been bouncing, so I did not get the agenda or the like welcome packet.
Sorry about that.
Fine. It'll get worked out hopefully before the next
Feedback on the onboarding process.
onboarding process. That sounds great. I look forward to reading the packet when I get it.
Okay.
But, yeah, no, it just looks like an opportunity to give back. I've been wanting to get more involved in local community now that I'm older and have more time. So it's like, well, I'm no longer in grad school. It's time to actually do something.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for being here. I'm excited to have both of you on the team.
Yes.
Well, you asked the question I was going to ask, so
So
look at that.
you get the credit.
Brilliant minds.
Glad you asked that.
I've been here a long time, and I learned in my first 5 years, you have to have generations. So I'll already be a person 40 years later. I moved.
Yeah.
You have to have several generations behind you before they accept you as one of their own.
I love all the stories though.
Just got her hand up.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi. I really appreciated hearing those thoughts, so thank you as well. But also, coming back to what I had put together, I know it's a lot of detail. It's kind of just an outline, I guess, an outline and a bunch of questions of like, well, what do we want this to look like? Because I easily could have started off like drafting real language, but I was like, I'm afraid that I'm going to like do all this work and the committee's going to be like, actually, we want to go this way. And so yeah, basically, this is meant to be just kind of like a guidance of how to we need to get municipal code language in order, like we need to be able to put language into the municipal code that says we're establishing this inclusivity committee as like a standing committee of the city, and in order to protect its ability to continue to exist. So yeah, there's, and to potentially have some more I don't know, collaboration with council, or you know, it gives us a bit more legitimacy. And then I also wanted to say on the subject of onboarding and like the just transitioning with like new staff members, new council members, new committee members, that we should remember to send out agenda emails to other people if they didn't get sent out, like who aren't necessarily official committee members, and to include the Zoom link, because like I had to dig through my emails to find the Zoom link in order to participate just now, and now I'm wondering like if Nora normally participates on Zoom, and I'm wondering if she got the email or not.
Oh, I am seeing what you're saying. So typically the link is in the email that gets sent out to us. Looks like that's
Yes,
missing.
sorry. Yeah. And it's not in the meeting packet, which I understand, like if you're putting the meeting packet online and you want to reduce the chances of Zoom bombing or whatever, but I think that in order to make sure that we are making meeting participation, more accessible when sending out the agenda to whomever wants to participate, that like on that listserv, that we include the Zoom link.
When you're talking about putting municipal code, is that, because I don't understand that process, is it writing into the Inclusivity Committee, or is it using verbiage from the municipal code into the committee language so it matches up to what's already in the municipal code?
Well, so it's putting language into the municipal code that says we are a committee. This is how we're structured and how we function and whatever else goes into it. So that's what this far into this page 10 of the packet is kind of yeah, again, sorry, it's a lot. The legend part is just like giving some information that whatever I have in brackets is proposed content of a section or subsection. So like the description, like right here, chapter 2 point whatever, establishment. Like I looked at the other committees and what their municipal code structure looks like, and they're not all the same. And so having an establishment section that kind of says this is what the purpose of our committee is, and et cetera, et cetera. And then the things that are in the blue boxes that I had put, I was like, well, we can take this information from these existing documents that we created in past years about how the committee is structured and functions, and incorporate that into the municipal code somehow. Does that make sense, or did I make it more complicated than it need to be?
No, that makes sense to me. I'm wondering, would it be helpful if Chris could pull it up, the document? So you can
Sure.
see.
While Chris is doing that, can I give a little
Yeah,
bit of
yeah.
context, sort of too?
Thank you,
Just
Chris.
like part of the reason we had come up with the push to do this was that I'm also kind of pushing with the city council in general that our rules should match what we do. Either meaning if we're not doing what it says in the rules, we should do what it says in the rules, or if we don't want to do what it says in the rules, we should change the rules to match what we want them to be. And that includes committees, where there are a few committees that we have in our municipal code right now that haven't met in decades, or at least years and years. And so those should probably just get taken out, because if we're not doing them, they shouldn't be in the code. And similarly, there's a committee like this that has been meeting regularly for several years. Committee. And usually temporary committees are supposed to be for temporary issues. So we had a streetscapes design ad hoc committee because that was a temporary issue of designing the streetscapes, and then it went in. So that committee is no longer. That's usually what we're supposed to do with sort of ad hoc committees, is like, if there's a particular issue that is time bound that we want to solve, the mayor, the city council can just kind of create an ad hoc committee. I think the, and then for the council eventually, is just, clearly this is not really an ad hoc committee anymore, but it's kind of living in that like temporary unofficial space still. And so if we are updating our municipal code to kind of match reality, then the council and this committee should figure out if this committee should be included in the municipal code as a standing committee, along with some of the other committees that the council makes appointments to every year. So that's the reasoning behind it, is not that anything's really going to change like in the way we work. I mean, we can if we want, but like I'm not pushing this because I think we're doing something wrong. We need to like change. It's more just getting it down in writing and putting it in the code so that, you know, if a few years from now I'm not the mayor anymore, Councilor Andrade and Councilor Crocker are not on the council anymore, and Chris isn't the city manager anymore, all the new people will be able to look at the municipal code and be like, oh, okay, we need to make appointments to this other committee, and this is what it's for, and this is who's supposed to be on it, just like we do for the other committees that we, or commissions or that kind of thing. So that was the impetus behind this, but we can do more with that.
And that wouldn't change how, like, how we have the official members that are, you know, voted in because of government reasons, but we could still have community members join and be part of the conversation in the same way that we do now.
Yeah.
If we built it
I think
into
it says that in
It,
here.
it literally says
yeah,
that in
but I mean, the language is in there. I just,
Yeah.
that's, as long as it's,
Yeah, like the state laws around like public meetings and court
Right.
and everything apply, whether it's an ad hoc or a stand, like it's for any type of governing body advisory committee. So that wouldn't change. The only thing I would caution us on is putting too much detail in the municipal code. You can kind of tell how old the committee is by how much detail there is about it in the municipal code. Like the police committee, it just says police committee. And like the you know, public works committee just says public works committee, and it really, that's kind of all it says. And then like the parks advisory board has like some more, and then like the, you know, tree board and the heritage tree committee and everything, you kind of like get more detail. So I just think the point there is like, it's good to kind of find a balance of like making clear what the intent is, but then also recognizing that there will be other people in charge after us, and they should have some leeway to kind of form the committee, you know, as is a best fit for their time and for their place. So not being overly prescriptive about like, these are the specific things the committee has to do, and this is how they do it. More so just like, this is the mission of the committee. It will be made up of, you know, 3 counselors, an equal number of appointed, you know, community members, and be open to the public for conversations or something like that. And then those people who are appointed and everything in the future can determine kind of how they want to go about that. But yeah. Is that fair to say, Chris?
I think this is good, what I'm seeing here. Do we need more than this?
I definitely don't think we need more, no.
I would like to change one thing, though.
Yes.
Fostering a safe space where learning, unlearning, and sharing can occur. As a teacher, I feel like learning covers the unlearning. I think we're continually learning, and we don't need to unlearn, we need to continue to learn. So I would not like the unlearning part in there, but that's my personal opinion, because I think changing what you've learned or learning more so that your views change is still learning. It's not
It's still
unlearning.
it's unlearning what you're learning. Yeah.
I get that. Unlearning to me, it feels like it's challenging the programming, the societal influence that I think all of us have experienced being humans growing up in today's world. And so to me, unlearning puts more of like an intentionality behind unlearning things that we just assume that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, in contexts like this, it's about confronting your inherent implicit bias and unlearning whatever biases or prejudices you already have coming to the table. It's supposed to highlight that this is something that you are working to undo. It's not like, yeah, it is part of learning, but the focus with the there is that you are coming to this trying to do better and to get past this and to no longer do it, to undo what has already been kind of done.
Hello.
Hey, welcome. No, you're good. Welcome, welcome.
Who demerits?
Thank you, Chair.
Yes. I wanted to see how people felt about renaming the committee. Personally, I like keeping it as Inclusivity Committee purely because I feel like for the community that does know, that's what they know it as, and I am worried about renaming it and then people being like, oh, so then what's the difference between the Inclusivity Committee and the Equity and Inclusion Committee? It's like, oh, it's actually the same thing. I like kind of keeping the branding consistent, but again, not a hill I will die on. I just was curious to kind of hear how the rest of the committee felt about that.
I know Albany has a similar committee, and they call it the Human Relations Commission,
A lot of cities have something like that.
which words matter, though, and what we do here is more than just inclusion. I don't know. I wouldn't be opposed to considering the name change.
Okay. I guess, how do we feel about the human relations thing? Because that I know is a thing a lot of cities call basically this group. So Diane Crocker.
Sounds like a health class to
Yeah,
me.
it gives me like big HR, and I don't.
Why is it? Because it has the
HR.
Yeah, I don't like it. I mean,
Some call it like a human rights commission, but that feels a little intensive because I don't know. We're not like fighting war crimes or anything in this room. I mean, we can talk about it, but like, I don't know. That always just feels a little.
Send it to me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I was so emphatic about that just now.
Hey, stand up for what you
about it. Yeah, I don't know. It just sounds so sterile. And I don't know.
We won't do it.
And very governmental.
Well, no, part of the reason I bring it up too is because like I've been at some like LOC conferences where people have been like, oh, do you have like a human relations commission? I'm like, yes, but no. So it is basically
For all
what we
intents
do,
and purposes,
but that doesn't mean we have to call it that. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking.
I like inclusivity. I mean, it's fine with me, but I'm open to change to only if it's not human relations.
If I may, I have no strong opinion on it, and just to clarify, because I don't know if I said it explicitly in here, most of the language is whatever I have taken from documents that we agreed upon already as a committee, and so I guess having that conversation of this is the time to change things if we want to. So just wanted to reiterate that idea of whatever you think needs to be changed, now would be the time to do it. And then also, I don't really know, sorry, I don't know how this is gonna go, but basically, I had volunteered to work on this, or at least to like outline it and stuff. I know Jane has expressed some interest in providing some language. I don't know if you still feel that way, Jane. But like, I'm happy to continue working on this, or if anyone else wants to work on it, or if you just want to send information my way, if you're like, no, go ahead, write the thing, whatever. I'm down for whatever.
That's my answer. You're doing a good job. Keep it up.
Thanks.
I wonder, in the same way that we did a subcommittee for the Black History Month event, having a subcommittee that focuses on this, that meets outside of these meetings and then brings it to the Inclusivity Committee, might be an effective way to get this all
That sounds
written.
great.
I mean, I think this is amazing, Jessica, but to share the load and, get some input.
Thanks. No, it's very much a work in progress, and just like so. But yeah, no, I'm happy to work with people if anyone's interested. either tell me now or reach out to me later.
And you're saying now is the time. Is there a timeline or is there urgency to get this completed by a certain date?
Not necessarily, no.
I mean, obviously urgency because
No.
we've wanted to have this conversation for a while.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
getting it into the municipal code, is there like a fiscal year ending
No.
thing that happens?
No, the council can amend the municipal code by ordinance whenever we want. I mean, at a council meeting, obviously, but, so it would just be a matter of like, once we're happy with the changes, then, we'd probably send this to either Chris or the city attorney to draft into like an actual ordinance, and then,
I just drafted up.
Okay.
So I drafted up.
and then that ordinance would go to the council, and then how ordinances work is, do they have to have the 2 readings if it's not unanimous the first one? So, an ordinance just means like a
Thank you.
proposal.
Okay.
But it means like an official proposal, because the city council does a lot of things by just consensus, where we just sit there and we're like, are we all okay with putting in a new bike lane over here? All right, good, and then we all kind of move on. For things that are changing the code or like, official land use decisions, then those have to be a little more formal. So for amending the code, it goes into an ordinance, and a way to think about an ordinance is basically like a law for the city. So that would come before the council as, it's like a document that has written out what the changes are to the city law. First reading, where we'd read out the title and talk about it as a council. And then the rules about those are, if it gets a unanimous approval by the council at its first reading, then that's approved. If it gets 1 no vote, or more, then if it doesn't pass the first reading, then it gets a second reading, and then it just has to pass by a simple majority at the second reading. So the idea is like, if it's a totally easy thing, everyone's on the same page, everything's good, we can just pass it at the first one. But if it's a little more contentious, or people want to talk about it more, or there's a little more disagreement, then it comes back for a second reading. So the short answer is there's no timeline. It's just up to the committee, kind of when you have something you're comfortable referring to the council. But just understanding that at the end of the day, the ultimate decision is up to the city council, because they're the only ones that can amend the municipal code. So, I
And
think.
to clarify,
Sorry, please.
Oh, I was just going to clarify that the now is the time meant like prior to sending code to the council for,
Yeah.
review and approval. Like now is like that time period, whatever that looks like. Like we need to have the discussion then, so that we don't, decide that we want to move in a different direction and have the municipal code say something different.
So just to say, like, we all should change this how you all feel is best, but also, keep in mind that it's something the council will also need to think is a good idea, in order to go into effect. The only thing I'd say on timeline is just the council has already been talking about a few other like tweaks to the municipal code on other just sort of like cleanup things, updating things. So like, if we can get it done relatively soonish, it kind of fits in well with some of those other changes, but that's just more of a convenience thing for like me and Chris in planning the council agendas. There's nothing barring us from putting it on a thing later. It's just the council's already kind of thinking about these things right now. So, yeah.
I think if you leave it pretty general, like it seems to be,
Yeah.
I can't imagine any opposition, but yeah, I think it's pretty clear.
Yeah, and this kind of came up because we were talking towards the end of our last meeting. I think it was the last one, or the one before, or both.
November.
Yeah, where we were talking a little bit about what the onboarding process looked like, how people are receiving documents. If there's, Jane has a binder that she keeps everything in, but there were some questions about, I've been here for 3 months and people are talking about a document. How do I get my hands on that document? I've never even heard this like, what's the mission of so it kind of started this conversation about what are folks getting when they come into the room? What are kind of our references as we're meeting? What does the council want us to be doing? What do we think we want to be doing? And then that kind of became a conversation about, if we're having this kind of structural conversation, we might as well do it at that bigger level, because we're basically doing the framework work that we would then take to the city council.
If we just had a couple packets, so when people come the first time, we can hand it to them, it'd be very nice, I think, to
Yeah.
have that.
But I did have a note, because I'm curious, now that SharePoint is a thing, is that something that we can utilize as a committee where kind of that stuff that's in here, that kind of what the goal of the committee is, what the committee members are doing, the makeup of the committee, all of that kind of like that structure stuff that people could refer back to? Is that something that could like live on SharePoint for committee members to just access as opposed to keeping paper copies?
Eventually.
Okay.
My staff's not 100% on, and we haven't completely integrated SharePoint yet, so, but eventually it can live there.
I myself found some information to committee before I came in on the website of Philomet. So I also think that's a good place to find this kind of information to start it, to know.
Yeah, I think most of these documents are referenced or on the Inclusivity website, so that's
They are.
a great place to point people to get the information. With most of the city committees, in fact, all the city committees, we typically will do an orientation when new members come in January. Then when they come in the year, it doesn't happen as often. This committee, the memberships kind of come in sporadically throughout the year a little bit more than other committees, and we just haven't had like the document and the formal orientation on board, like we've done. Like planning commission's a little more structured. People usually stand for the full thing, and so like even our new city council members, we just gained 3 new members, so we just sat down, spent about 2 hours and went through an orientation to get them up to speed and get them going. That happened a little bit later than usual because Councilor Salsa didn't get appointed until the January meeting, so some of them have already met and had a couple of meetings, and then we're giving them orientation afterwards, which is what many of you probably feel like. But typically, like our new planning commissioners coming on board, we'll meet with them before the first planning commission meeting and talk them through it so they kind of know what to expect. So I anticipate with this committee, we could do the same thing. It's just a matter of what it is that you want us to go over with folks, and it's something I can easily do, or the chair and I could do that together. Just kind of nuts and bolts of being on the committee. And there's some ethics things like taking notes and all that with, public records and all that we need to advise and disclose and make sure that they're aware of as a committee member on a public committee. And then there's the procedural type stuff that might be helpful for the chair to kind of talk through how to get things on the agenda, that kind of thing. That's something we could definitely do at the staff level, and happy to have the chair help out on that. We just need to know what's the packet, what do you want us to go over?
I think we, more than any other group, welcome people to drop in and stay as long as they want. And that's where it's so different than the other committees, because they're pretty set for the whole year.
Yeah, I'm not super excited about like having packets printed out to give people, just because they're gonna get dated, they're gonna whatever. The one time somebody does come new, we're not gonna have it. But having everything online is an easy reference for people to get to, and then for I would say the official members that are actually appointed that are there is a little easier than for drop-ins that aren't on but they've dropped in after they've been here a couple of times. Maybe we just try to set up something or see if they're interested and invite them, and we can do that a little bit more formally than what we've been doing.
So, do we want to make a subcommittee? Do we want to just?
What is the objective out of this conversation? Is it to answer the questions that are in the document that Jessica prepared?
I think our goal is to try to take the 4 or 5 documents that are underlined in blue and kind of combine to create one?
To go into municipal code or to create like structure and procedure for inclusivity committee? Because I'm hearing we want to be vague for the municipal
Right.
code part. And this is a wealth of information. And so I'm wondering, are these two separate
Two
things?
separate,
I would say, yeah,
separate then.
I would think that like, yeah, the municipal code is as top level as possible, that kind of covers everything. And so like members could see what that code is to get the, idea of what we do, but then also that second document that kind of has the procedures is also available on the website and for people who are coming into the committee. So it's kind of both.
So like, oh, sorry. So like an example, I don't know if you can see me, by the way, because of the whole share
can.
screen. I don't. Oh, okay. I think that would be the example of like the committee can decide, like municipal code language that says the committee can decide how they want to organize, and then and then having that separate document that outlines if we're having like a council co-chair and general community member volunteer co-chair, if that makes sense.
I think,
Did that make sense? Is that kind of like how it would be? Because I've seen that in committees of like the
yeah,
municipal code language that says that they can organize how they want to, and then like have that organization out in a like committee policy kind of
Yeah.
paper.
yeah, I think for me, like, the only things I would really want to put in the code are, like, maybe that first blue box thing there, on, I don't know how to, on page 10.
10.
Yeah. And then maybe just the membership, like but not the whole, I don't know if we need the committee member expectations in the municipal code. That feels like something that could be in like a committee handbook, and I don't think we need recruitment, that kind of stuff. I think that's all, we don't need that in the code. I think that literally the only things that should be in the code are like, what is the committee and who's on it? And then then that can guide mostly how our other committees are structured, is it's like, the tree board will review trees in the city right of way, and it consists of 2 members of the public in addition to the 3 members of the city's public works committee. Yeah, I mean, it's like a little more than that, but not too much, but yeah,
And then the kind of
Awesome.
like nuts and bolts
Thank you.
function
right.
stuff goes, yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you, that's really helpful.
So do we want to do a subcommittee for the procedure part and not necessarily the municipal code part? That seems pretty cut and dry, easy to kind of pare down. But are there folks
Well,
that want to do?
Well, to clarify, sorry, or like clarifying question, are you asking like for a committee to review those documents that we've already created on procedures and stuff like that? To review and edit, or like actually create new documents?
I mean, I guess that depends on if anybody has anything that they
Want to change?
add or change, yeah. Because if everybody's happy with, and we don't have to make a decision on this right away, because folks don't necessarily have all of the materials to.
Yeah, if we could postpone the full decision of this till next meeting, just so we have some time to absorb everything and look at the documents, because honestly, I have not looked at them.
Jessica, I can work with you if you want. I can give you a hand with that. Kind of give you.
Thank you. That would be great.
Okay.
Did someone else say something, or was that you? Sorry.
Me, hoping that we could look at this again at next meeting.
Oh yeah, no,
Have
I
some
heard
time
that
to
part.
read and absorb. Okay.
making a note of that.
And then if Jessica and Jane are gonna do a subcommittee, can we email you all about feedback or anything like that?
Yes, please do.
First, public records. How does that work? To talk to a subcommittee.
I mean, to talk to subcommittee, then probably no. If you've got changes or specific stuff that you have written about it, just email that directly to them is fine. But I'm going to be emailing you back and going back.
Right, and then that's fine.
So if you just want to provide them your thoughts, your comments, that's fine.
Okay.
And then you guys don't reply, right?
Don't reply
Talk to
back
each other.
and say, we'll take this in, and then they can bring that back to a public meeting and say, we got all this input, here's what we've come up with, what do you think of this? Then we can have the conversation about what got submitted. So yeah, you can submit, we just don't want to have the conversation outside of the public meeting.
Right. Gotcha.
And to clarify, in case new members aren't aware, like there's specific public meetings laws that we have to abide by, and we can't have a quorum, which is like half of the committee plus one additional person. Like that is a quorum. So so we have to be careful about like how many people we have on a subcommittee. We can't have, I don't know how many people we have on our committee officially anymore, like the official committee members, but previously the quorum was 4 when we had 7 members. So yeah, we like in that, when if we have 7 members, we can't have 4 official committee members as a subcommittee.
What's our number?
It's on the city council document, but my computer just died. I can tell you, I think we've got 1 new application came in. I think that will fill us back up. So whatever our total, I think we had 7. It was 3 and 4, 3 council members and 4 community members. So I think with this 1 additional one, that'll more than likely be approved on Monday, then we'll be up to 7 again.
Nice. Okay, so Jessica and
No.
Jane will
We have more than that.
collaborate, and then we'll talk about this again in February.
End of February.
And yes, because we are in February. So end of this month, February. So if anyone has any thoughts on what's in the packet, wording, thoughts, or change or add, or those can get sent to Jessica or Jane. And
Don't expect a response.
don't expect a response. And then we'll hear all about it at our next meeting. Great. Real quick, we'll just finish up here with Women's History Month, which is in March. We have a proclamation that is in for review. And if folks like that, we can pass that along.
Who wrote this?
Last year's.
Inclusivity committee.
That was brilliant of someone to write that.
We did.
Doesn't mean that I know the whereas, I don't get that, but I think I'm supposed to write a social media thing on this, and I will get that done before our next meeting at the end of this month.
Great. And banners will also.
So banners will go up the first part of the month in March, and then the city council with these proclamations, the city council typically reviews and approves and reads these during their council meeting for that month. And so this will go to the city council in March. So it's getting to you a little bit early, but we wanted to give time to review it, make any changes, and then you've still got, again, we can have it on the agenda for next meeting as well at the end of the month for kind of a final stamp of approval of what will actually go into the city council packet for consideration. So we're starting with last year's. We'll change the dates, of course, but any other changes, we just need
I really like that idea. We don't need to reinvent the wheel every year. I think it's really use.
I do like the idea that it's a living document, so we can adjust it if needed, but having that structure, definitely, agreed.
Anybody has any specific changes tonight? And we could talk about that now, or if not, we can again bring it back to the next meeting and talk about it. Recognizing some people didn't get the packet and et cetera, so it might be better just to hold this over till next meeting.
It'll get to the council in time if we hold off.
Yeah, it'll be fine. The council won't meet till the 10th of March, so that'll be time. So the main crutch of this meeting was we wanted to make sure that we could talk about the Black History Month event, and then this other stuff got kind of added to the agenda as like a precursor a little bit, so.
But if we could just approve this now, we could talk about it Monday night, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Packet's already out, it's on your doorstep.
I know, I found it. Thank you.
February 27th.
I've got something to add when it's appropriate, but I'll wait until it's appropriate.
I think we were gonna talk about the calendar just because we were gonna try to prep it, but I feel like we're kind of ahead of the game, so we can just
We're running.
maybe.
Good job, Chris.
That's the topic
We've
of
got
when
March.
I'm bad. Yeah.
March kind of.
I think Jessica.
Oh, what you got, Jessica?
Sorry, thanks. I was going to ask thoughts about banners, banner designs, and whether we want to if we can monetarily and want to reprint any of the ones that we have now that we have new logo, etc., like the beginning, like the top and bottoms. I think Christopher and I spoke about that recently. I don't know if you have any more thoughts on that, Christopher.
You know, we're talking about that specific thing, but I'm not doubting you. I'm doubting myself.
You had
I was
said
trying to be
something
like-
about the logos, and then I was like, oh, yeah.
I mean,
Or maybe
I've
that was
been harping on
Chelsea.
how-
I don't know.
I don't know. I have been harping about how the logo needs to go on everything, so I guess that would fall under that. But
I don't know. From a financial standpoint, I'd like to get a little bit more use out of these. I mean, they're only gonna last a few years anyway, just because the wind's kind of hard on them, so I assume we're gonna be replacing these within a couple of years anyway.
yeah,
So I'd like to use them, get at least a second year out of them and maybe a third year, and then as they wear out and we need to replace them, then we can look to.
yeah,
do
And
a
any
logo.
new ones can have the new one.
yeah. And I feel like that's kind of
That's totally
how the
cool.
city.
Feels a little more fiscally responsible.
Well, I mean, just in general, I think that's kind of.
But oh, sorry.
Substantial changes other than just the logos.
Sure.
Would be one thing if there were errors or, I know we had the one issue with the one,
Yeah.
it's fine, but if it's just the logo, I would advise that we hold off and get a few years out of them.
That's totally cool. Just want to make sure that we can get logo and like design information to Diane and Zena if we haven't already.
I would ask for it from Chelsea maybe, and I'm assuming I would get the artwork there.
Yep. VSP or whatever. However we need it.
Okay. I think that brings us. Did you have something you wanted to
Yes.
add? Probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
August is kind of blank, and Jane has been doing all this work on AARP, and she has shared a lot of it with me. And it turns out that August 21st is Senior Citizen Day. So I would propose that we put that into August and do our thing with the banners and the proclamation and the social media on senior, and we could call it a month. We could call it whatever we want, but
Could declare it.
yeah, but I like that idea, and she's got so many good ideas, and we've talked. I get excited every time I read her stuff or we talk about it, but then nothing's happened. She's telling me this is a 5-year plan, because I'm going, let's have it in place by August. She's going, it's a 5-year plan. So, anyway, I think I think they are an underserved part of our community, and I think they need to be included, and we've got ideas on how to do it. We just have to put them into practice.
Yeah, I think we can.
All right?
Add that to the calendar.
And maybe, do you want to try to have a meeting and then we can talk about it at our next meeting or not?
Well, I thought maybe for the next meeting, have that intro page, that AARP intro page again, which kind of explains, it lays out the whole process of becoming, getting involved in the network. Just a reminder, because we haven't done this information in a while. Then that way, if it all, if we're all good with it, then I can get the rest of the documents that I need to get us going with the application. I do have all the questions answered, probably need a little tweaking now, but then I just need a couple documents from City Hall kind of thing that works, for the getting into the network.
There's some statistics in there that talk about, there's more seniors than there are children. And it's only, the senior population is gonna grow over the next 15 years or whatever, and there are some seniors that are doing fine. They're out and about doing things, well, we would be examples. But there are some seniors that are lonely and by themselves, not a lot to do, and I think that's where we would like to reach out and do some socialization or and see what they want to do. I don't know. So is it okay to put that in? Do we have to have a discussion or a vote on Senior Citizen Month?
I'm adamantly opposed to seniors. I just want to go over it.
You heard it here first.
You don't think you're gonna make it, do you?
Great idea.
Yeah.
And you say August is light. I don't have the calendar in front of me. We
It
don't
has
have
nothing.
anything
It
on
says August. None.
Yeah.
I actually think last year for August, we did, or we're planning to do the age-friendly community stuff at the farmer's market because we didn't have anything in August.
We
So
did
I
the
think,
big board,
I think that's, yeah, so I think it kind of,
So we could maybe man a booth with information?
yeah, there's all kinds of stuff.
Host activities, like I wrote down, like the loneliness thing that you talked about. I know Medicare is a
Yes.
very confusing
Yes.
thing, that connecting with those kind of resources,
And that's on our list, yeah.
like wellness or exercise, that sort of thing.
And, we have so many ideas, but yes, that was part of it. And we're thinking of the community room in the library to start with. Unless we grew out of that, but that would be a safe place and people know where it is during the day, because not all seniors don't typically like to go out at night. And
No, we don't.
we talked about even trying to get some school kids, a class, maybe be our pen pals or something, and we can meet and write. And there's a lot of her stuff that talks about 8 and 80, connecting that they have a lot of same interests, so.
I could help with like resources and stuff for the community, for
Yes.
seniors and
Yes.
stuff. There's some cities do this, adopt a grandma or adopt a grandparent.
Yeah.
I think that's a cool idea for people, a way that people could sign up for that and say, yes, I'm interested in, my family don't live here anymore. I see a lot of people through work that don't have any family in anywhere near Oregon, and
Yes.
they're lonely and they just want to have, be able to read a book to a kid and have a family that they can connect with. Yeah, but it's hard to make because they're not necessarily on the internet to be able to access that. So if there was a way that you could have a booth and have it on paper form where you could sign up if you were interested in,
Even maybe we could
sign up as a volunteer to
Yes.
be the volunteer for it. I feel like that would be good.
That's something that triggered my mind, but I forgot.
Okay. Well, I will make sure that gets on the
Thank you very much.
the end of the month
That means we have to meet.
and on the calendar.
Jess had her hand up.
Hi, Jess.
Hey,
It's out of
I
my
just wanted
peripheral.
I just wanted to bring us back to at the beginning of the meeting, we were talking about co-chairs and like what we're going to be doing for the rest of this year. And before we were rotating volunteer co-chairs every 3 months, and then we were just kind of like, Amanda, you can just keep doing it if you want. And then, so I don't know like what the committee feels about the rotation, or like just, yeah.
And I love co-chairing, like truly love it. 'Cause I'm-
Well, you're truly great at it, so.
But I'm also happy to let someone else do it if they would like to.
How do you feel about chairing?
How do I feel about chairing?
Since we lost our co-chair.
Oh, I mean, I feel good about it. It's basically the same. But yeah, I mean, it is a good experience for folks to kind of understand how running a meeting works and putting the agenda together, and you know, if you are interested in, you know, city help working, it's a good experience for that. But
Can I share some of the feedback I've got? Some of it was anonymous feedback that I've gotten.
yes,
Was it you, Chris?
So just thoughts. I'll just put out some thoughts, and this is things I've heard over the last 2 years. I won't go back much further than that. There's several members on the committee I've talked with that like the opportunity to chair. There's others that don't like the pressure they feel that they should also be co-chairing because it's rotated around and they haven't taken a turn and they feel pressure, but they don't want to. They just want to come to the meetings. And so rotating too much seems to feel like I'm the only one that's not been a co-chair yet, but I don't want to, but I feel pressure. The co-chairs that have co-chaired in the past, Rose has done a great job, Amanda's done a great job, Jane did an awesome job, have done a great job. But what I've experienced, I won't say what I've heard, what I've experienced is they just kind of get comfortable with it and then it goes away because their 3 months is up and then somebody else's turn again. So I think the opportunity to rotate around is good, but I think 3 months is too short. I think if you did like every year, let's get a new co-chair, would give that person enough time to feel like they were in the groove and could kind of help run the calendar and the agenda for a year. From the staff perspective, it gives us one point of contact to be working with and kind of know the process and system and all that, and it not go away after 2 or 3 months. So I like the idea of a more consistent chairperson, and I don't think it necessarily takes away from people feeling excluded, because if we're rotating every year, I think it still gives an opportunity for multiple people to serve in that position. I don't see a big benefit anymore in our Inkling. It was nice to have one of the council members be a co-chair to kind of help. I think we're past that. I think there's a lot of comfort level in where we're at. We've got a calendar, we've got agendas, we've got years worth of minutes now. I think that, you know, as a community member, I think there's plenty of leadership expertise and availability and desirability to be a chairperson. And I think we can maybe go away from the co-chair idea. You can always reach out to staff. You can always reach out to the mayor. You can always reach out to Jessica if you've got questions on process or anything. But I think any one of you would be more than capable to be a chairperson and help us set the agenda, run the meetings, and you know, you're not by any means expected to be drafting everything and contacting everybody and all of that. That can fall a little bit more on your staff to kind of help with that process. So that's my 2 cents. Again, just some pressures I've heard of good and bad. Definitely want to share the load and give every opportunity for those leadership opportunities. But I think rotating too much creates some negative impacts as well.
I agree. But that said, I don't think, I mean, if your life all of a sudden got really hectic or
Right.
changed, you should feel free to say,
100%.
I've done my time, I need to switch and switch out.
Yeah.
Tap out, whatever.
Does that make sense?
Should we be looking at an equitable process to choose that person? I mean, I know Amanda has been doing it and you're doing a fabulous job.
Thanks.
But equity portion of wanting to offer it up to anyone else who might be interested in doing that role.
How long have you been doing? Is it 3 months now or 4?
Five.
Well, we didn't meet for
Well, yeah,
1 month.
because we didn't meet, so I did it for 3,
Yeah.
and then we had kind of the weird month.
Give me like
So
2
like
extra.
5,
5 and a half.
5 and a half. Who knows?
Policy right now that we've approved that talks about co-chair and that system. So that's what's in place today.
Yeah.
If we wanted to go away from that, we should probably talk about kind of the structure that
Yeah.
Jessica's brought to the table. That's kind of her point, like now's a good time to like
Right.
have this conversation. If we want to make some changes, let's make some changes. And so, you know, it's maybe a good discussion to look at, and maybe Jessica and Jane and whoever else is trying to help with that can maybe look at that language as well and bring that back. And so tonight's decision might just be as easy as, do we want to ask Amanda to continue? Do we want to plan to have somebody new co-chair starting as early as the end of this month? Or, you know, do we want to give Amanda a little break? Do we want to let her go for another month and then we'll see what we do in March, or what do we want to?
You have to drag me out of this chair. There's no.
I think.
I love her honesty.
I'm just kidding. Obviously, if there was somebody who really wanted to like
We'll fight you for
do
it.
this,
Throw it in.
I'm happy to,
Yeah.
you know.
I think it makes the most sense to me to have you keep doing it, and then once we've developed our final agreed upon processes and everything, then we can reevaluate. But I feel like you like doing it. As far as I know, we like having you. So like it feels weird if we like pick someone else tonight and then a month later we're like, well, now we need to pick someone else because we wrote this whole. So I think having you kind of stay on at least until we.
And in other city committees, most typically the first of the year, or some of them it's every 2 years, depending on the committee. At the first meeting of the year, they just open it up for volunteers or nominations, and you can volunteer yourself, you can nominate somebody else. So that's a meeting you don't want to miss. Then there's, you know, if you end up with more than one, then you just do you know, let them agree, like, hey, I accept the nomination, or oh, I appreciate it, but I'd rather not. And if you have 2 that both want to do it, then it's just a quick vote. We don't need secret votes in public meetings. So, you know, I think for the most part, my experience with this group is it's the same attitude that Amanda has. It's like, hey, I'm happy to do it.
Sure.
If someone else wants to do it, then great, and we'll take turns. I just think that oversharing is like everybody trying to open the door for one another, and it just becomes a little bit of a cluster sometimes. So,
Is it something that we could do similar to how, obviously not at the same level, but you know how there's the mayor and then the council president, where if you're not available,
The second in command.
then there's kind of, if whoever the person is who's
Yeah.
the chair,
can have a
there's
vice
kind
chair.
of that, like, yeah, or,
We do that for like budget committee. And
yeah. So there's still that.
You could have a scribe as well.
No.
That's
Somebody wanted.
When I was a kid and I wanted a dishwasher, I would say, Mom, let's get a dishwasher. And she would say, we have one. It's you.
We appreciate it.
Noted.
I have one. Totally off topic. Can I go there?
Oh, real quick, I'll just say that I have no preference, but I just want to say that if you, nope, I lost it. Sorry, just kidding. But yeah, no, I'm down with Amanda to continue, and then at least for like, I agree that Amanda knows what she's doing, and like if anyone, I guess Amanda, if you feel like you would like a council co-chair for or a co-chair of a like general community member for next month, to like reach out to that person that you would like to like help you get stuff going, and then we can talk about it more. / everyone send your thoughts about that kind of structure to Jane and myself so we can talk about it.
forgive me if I say the words wrong. Um, the, our community has a community meal on Tuesday nights, and there was a large Hispanic population that went there, and they're not going there anymore because of the changes in the federal government. Is there a way for us as an inclusivity committee to reach out to give help or food or something? I just feel like we should do something. Anybody have any ideas or contacts? I don't know how to go about doing it.
Is there any kind of tracking or sign-in sheet for the people who would attend that? Like, is there a way to know?
Not that I know.
It's just you show up, it's drop
Yeah.
in kind of thing, right?
I've been a couple times. I went there yesterday. No, on Tuesday to put their flyer.
Oh, nice.
I did see some Hispanic people there, but
Oh, good, because I was told that they had several coming, and then with the new changes, they weren't, and I was feeling like.
Oh, I believe that.
But I have heard comments, similar comments about people being very scared. Yeah. Did the city just announce that they're standing on the situation?
I mean, the city of Bend released a really nice statement recently. The mayor of Bend came forward and said basically state law says Oregon is a sanctuary state. We're not going to appoint city resources to aid ICE in any way. And I don't think that's particularly controversial because it is state law.
Yeah. Also, the school sent and their newsletter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they
were
do.
very considerate also.
This might be a conversation for later. I feel like it might be nice if just like, because the sheriff basically, you know, said the same thing on Saturday. Like even if like the sheriff and then like different police departments in Benton County did like a joint release, just because that kind of takes the heat off of anyone.
There might be something coming out. They met
Okay.
last week, I want to say late last week, there was a meeting, kind of a last minute meeting with DAs, sheriffs, whatever. I think there was about 90 personnel in the room, according to Chief Gursky, who went as well. And it was a discussion on that topic specifically, and that was the consensus, and not really consensus, that was, this is where we are and this is what we're doing. And yeah, as a sanctuary state, we're not, from the city, from the sheriff all the way up, we're not providing city resources, county resources to we're not going to get in the way either, but we're not going to provide resources. Gursky's comment was typically when ICE comes into an area, they don't ask for help either. They come with resources. They know who they're going after. They know what they're doing. They're in. They take care of it. They go. They're not typically like calling law enforcement ahead of time, asking for help, asking for road. They're not typically doing it that way anyway. But if they did, we would tell them we don't have resources to provide. We're not providing resources. So it's hard to get that out in a public statement. But we could take a look at something. I mean, I'm not opposed to the city doing it. My concern would be reaching the right population.
I know.
Because, yeah, I mean, I have a few friends in those communities through church and other networks, and that mantra is going through right now. There's definitely a scare there, and there's already kind of a distrust for government for a lot of people, especially if they are undocumented, and so it's made it worse for sure. And it's hard for the government to say, "Hey, trust us."
Right.
We've always said, "Hey, trust us," and there's always going to be that distrust there. So it's a little bit of a hard spot. I think individually, there's a lot we can do to friends and neighbors and people we have. I'll take a look. Maybe the mayor and I can talk a little bit about maybe this statement, maybe coming from the mayor is even more appropriate than coming from the police chief, just to kind of talk about the city's position on that. Maybe it's a good Monday night discussion too we could have with the council, make sure we're on base.
Yeah.
Underground Railroad for food. What I'm thinking.
So,
I'm sorry, if they're afraid to go to the meal, they're probably afraid to go to the grocery store. And
yeah.
I want to help. I don't know, maybe food's not their main issue, obviously.
Well, I think there is a lot of mutual aid and organizations that's happening within communities. But yeah, I think not only having our mayor say something, but I'm thinking even if Inclusivity Committee or just us as citizens like write letters or make pictures or something that they can post up in the areas where the meals are happening. To share that message that Philomath is standing with our neighbors.
I think we had mentioned this banner that wherever you're from, we're happy to be that you're our neighbor. We mentioned that in a
I
coffee.
remember hearing that.
Yes, and I took a picture of that, and something like that to be visible in these places. No,
That would be very nice.
I do think a positive message. Trust in the government, and maybe I'm just thinking. And now being an inclusivity committee. For me, it's also about the community and members of the community being part of it. And so, I don't know, there might be something that can be said out there.
Yeah.
Diane, do you have a contact with the folks that host the community meal?
I do.
I'm wondering, not to put you on the spot, but I'm wondering if us three could meet and kind of dialogue about some ideas and then bring it back on the 25th
Yes,
at our February meeting.
sure.
And that would be like a citizen community kind of effort, and then you guys can talk about your
Oh yeah, I know that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mayoral or more government messaging.
I think my thing with the government messaging is like, I feel like it's honestly more effective if it's a little less of a values statement. Not that we shouldn't, but just like more of like we don't have a choice. Like we would get prosecuted if we complied. Like this is we are legally required not to comply with any sort of immigration request. Like that is not our role. Our role is to protect our citizens and our residents and to reduce crime and protect public safety. And I feel like that, because I don't want it to turn into I know this is going to sound like I don't want it to become more politicized than it needs to be. And I feel like that needs to be the message from the city is like, we're not making a political statement. We are reporting facts, which is that the city cannot and will not.
Maybe like a reiteration of
Right,
the Samaritan, or not Samaritan,
The sanctuary, yeah.
promise.
Right. Like I think that's where the city's position needs to be, especially without the council taking any kind of position. Because that's not a position really. That's just
Explaining a law.
a fact. The city is legally barred from, assisting enforcement action. So when you see Philomath police officers out on the streets, they are there enforcing Philomath ordinances and state laws on traffic and crime, and
I'm
that's
not looking for
We're
status here.
not alone on that, so I'll do a little bit of digging
Okay.
at the state level and just see if we can kind of repost or repurpose some of the stuff that's coming out from there. Cause
I've seen a lot of messaging like at work. Like,
Yeah,
it's
so
out there.
maybe that we can forward on through and we can put on our social media feed so we can kind of help get that word out. But I think the organizations that are providing the services, they're ahead of us. They're already having these conversations. Businesses that cater to large Hispanic populations or non-native populations, whatever that might be, they're having conversations about how to get customers, how to get clients, how to get people to feel more comfortable. And so, there's things we can do, but it's tricky.
because the main message I feel like we want as a city too is like, if you are the victim of a crime or you need the police in Philomath, you should call the police in Philomath. We don't want someone to not report a crime or to not ask for help because they're afraid of that.
There's
That's
going to be
our
an
main
event of
message.
coffee with the police.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great idea.
Oh,
And just, yeah, but
Yeah.
if you're undocumented, maybe you don't want to have coffee with a cheese off.
Yeah,
Right.
So,
I think there's that much fear that
yes.
which I think,
it's not likely to happen.
right, I think just helping people understand that there's not just police.
You're safe.
There's, city police and county sheriff and state police and federal law enforcement and, they have different jobs and our job is to enforce our local laws and keep our residents safe and that's it. So, So,
Okay, so we're gonna meet.
I'll start an email chain.
I have a date in mind. I'll talk to you later.
Well, whatever y'all discuss.
Would anyone else like to be part of that conversation?
Send whatever y'all come up with to me and we'll get it on the agenda. And I'm not allowing any other conversation because we're COVID-19.
See, you're a good leader.
So our next meeting is the 25th of February at 5:30 here. If there's anything you want on the agenda that we didn't discuss, send it to me, and if we have space, we'll add it. And if we don't, then we'll add it to the list of things to be added to future agendas.
And so we're not doing PCS on the 25th. We're having a regular meeting and that's it.
Yeah, because I'm not sure where I feel like I don't know where the 25th came from.
I
Maybe
might have seen it at the PCS meeting. I went to that
well,
meeting.
I'll double check. I'm going to talk to David soon, so I'll see if there's some clarification. And if we're not doing it that day, maybe the weekend before or some.
And there's also an open invitation to participate in the ongoing.
Yes.
Yes.
Drive.
Yeah. But if I find something out before our meeting, which is likely, I'll send that to Chris and he can disseminate. Cool. Meeting adjourned.
good team.
Bye, Jessica. Feel better.
Bye. Thank you.